fucking get my door, put the fucking door in.
Hello everybody and welcome to another show of Blink and You'll Miss It. Sorry for the last few weeks or even the last few months. I've not really been doing any podcasts, but I've had my troubles to seek myself, to be very frank. It's been with drink and drugs, cocaine to be precise, but I'm taking steps to address that just now. I'm in day 33 and I'm just taking a day at a time. So hopefully it's never too late and it's only, as everybody says, take it one day at a time. So I'm feeling great and all that, and I know I've been a bit mad in that the last few months, my behaviour and that, but I'm trying to get everything all sorted in my personal life as well. And you can only try, can't you? So, as always, the story I'm going to talk about tonight is about a good friend of mine's, Ernest Barrie for the Gorbals. I first met Ernest 40 years ago, but this is dedicated to Ernest as well. It's quite a story Ernest's got. So, as always, this is for the youth of today as well, and what I'm going to be talking about, encourage you youth not to go down this path. It might seem glamorous at the time, but there is a lot of lonely nights spent in prison if you're going to get caught. So I'm about the consequences to not go down this path. If you go down this path, well, it's not going to be all birds and sunshine. You know what I mean? So let's get into the story. We're starting off in 1982. I was doing 9 months at the time. I was up in Glencoe Young Offenders. I was coming up for my 21st birthday in March, and I get moved a month later down to Barrie. Old stomping ground. I'd been there when I was 16, ready to get transferred to Pullman, Borstal, etc. Many times I've been in there to go up to Long again as well when I was a youth. So I went down to Barrie, and it was my first time as an adult. I was just turned 21, as I said, and I was in one of the halls. And in Barrie at the time, there was a dining hall, believe it or not. You used to go for your meals there. And there'd be a table, 8 people would sit at the table. And I happened to be at this table with Ernest Barrie. As I say, this was the first time I met Ernest. And Ernest was a bit of a character. Oh yes, he was. Ernest... He was doing, I get talking to him, Ernest was doing 2 years, and he eventually told me after a few weeks that he had a couple of pals up here prison, and he told them he'd get them out. And I asked him, how did you get them out, Ernest? I didn't know nothing about it or whatever. He says that he climbed over HMP Perth's perimeter wall and the hospital wing. He says he actually sawed the bars in this window, and he over a couple of times and it hadn't been spotted. And two guys escaped. The guys were Cat A prisoners, so that was high security, so they managed to get out this window that Ernest had sawed the bars. And Ernest get done for this. Ernest get 2 years. So any man that does that for a fellow prisoner is a pal of mine for life, and which we became good pals. So I'd only been in there 5-6 weeks or something, and another pal that was in another hall, he sent our word that somebody had been bad mouthing him, and would I do something about it? So at the time I was young and wild, and this guy, I'll not mention his name, he pointed it to me. So I just says, I'll slash him. All right. So that's what happened. Back to the hole, got this guy in the toilet, and I slashed him for my pal. So this time the police get involved and met me and Ernie and that, and we were suspects and a few other of the guys, and nobody got charged after about 3 or 4 days. The prison officers, they deemed me as the culprit. They couldn't prove nothing. So at the time, as I say, it was 1982. They put me into D Hall, the bottom flat. There was no window house at the time. So I was there, and Ernie was sending me letters and that. We called them stiffies at the time. And I done the remainder of my sentence, and I got released. And Ernie got out the following year, I think, and we ended up meeting up. At the time, he was going out with a lassie for the Carlton. Her name was Mary Binney, and she ended up moving up to Glenrothes, and I was up there a few times. Me and Ernie became good friends, and we got up to 1985, 86. Ernie's mother had actually died in Mary's house up in Glenrothes, and I was at the funeral in the Gorbals. It was a Queen Elizabeth pub, and there was a wake in there for Ernie's ma, and there was a guy, John McHugh, that ran it. And John used to run another pub in the Poso Park called the Hawthorn, and I used to frequent about Poso in 1985. And I'd go into the Hawthorn on a Saturday. It'd be great on a Saturday afternoon. You had Donny Finlay on the keyboards. Anybody out there that's old enough as me would remember this. And there was fantastic people for Poso Park. There was all the Moffat family who stayed next to the Hawthorn. There was the Bates, Billy and Jojo. I was pals with. There was Linda and Billy Fraser, who stayed in Sunny Law Street. There was my pal Davy Fitzsimmons. He stayed up in the jungle. There was just loads. There was just loads of people. So on a Saturday afternoon in this Hawthorn, I says to my man, I says, you need to come up on the Saturday afternoon to the Hawthorn and that. And she says, well, it's good entertainment. Why Donny Finlay, keyboards and all that. I says, great singer. I says, but the reason I'm taking you up, I says, because you get some great bargains. And she went, oh, I like a bargain and that, which everybody did. But this wasn't just any bargain. In this Hawthorn pub, as I was to get to know, the shoplifters were that good. You could actually ask them to get your washing machine and they would get it. You just wrote down what you wanted. Remember, way back in the days, there was no CCTV, there was a lot of alarms and bugs, so you just gave the shoplifters a wee note and they would come up to the Hawthorn. So my man and I was there a few times, had great times, and back in 85, me and my pal David Fitzsimmons, we went to Tenerife as well, and it was a great holiday. My man that went was as well, and David he loved it. You know what I mean? But let's get back to Ernie. So we're coming up to 1986, and Ernie was arrested. And what was he arrested for? Ernie was arrested for a £40,000 bank robbery, where a security guard had £40,000 took off him outside a bank in Blantyre. So Ernie found himself in Berlin, and I went up to see him a few times, and me and my mum went up as well. She got to know Ernie well, and we actually took him a suit and shoes and a shirt and all that up, coming up for his High Court trial. Ernie was quite confident that he would get away with it, and I was down at the court, and then the last day of the jury we came in, and they found him guilty. I was shell shocked to say the least, and the judge, I was sitting there, and the judge actually says to her, and he was making an example of him. There was too many of these armed robberies going on in Glasgow and out with at the time in Scotland, and a lot of people were doing armed robberies at that time because, as I say, there wasn't cameras, mobile phones, etc. So the judge hammered Ernie 18 years. I was stunned, but off I went to the Shipbank pub, which was run by a good pal of mine's, Brian Hislop, his family, and a girl who I was brought up with, Janice Kelly. She was married to Frank Hislop, and they went on to run it in later years. But I sat in the Shipbank, and I must say I ended up getting steaming. I couldn't believe it. And I went up the road, I told my man that, and they were all shocked. So while Ernie was in, I was up seeing him, and he was just standing. He says, "I've been set up." It says 2 security guards had went in and picked him out, and I think the police had set him up as well. So in let's go up to 1987, January, there was a riot in Barrie. The boys had enough. But Berlin is a barbaric place. It definitely is. It hasn't changed, and I think a lot of people can't wait till this new prison opens, HMP Glasgow. I think it's going to open 2 or 3 a year. The sooner the better. Just Berlin is just a terrible place. It should be condemned, and it will be rightly so in a few years. I've had my troubles in there. I think everybody knows that. I've spoken about that a few times. But Ernie, 1987, it was all over the news. The prisoners had enough. Ernie was actually in the hall. He didn't go to the dining hall. And I think he was with Boy Cokie for the Carlton. It was their lifer. And Cokie's brother was in as well. But they were back in the hall, and a good pal of mine, yes, Sammy Ralston. The only one, Sammy. The story what happened, I know the story what happened, the Berlin riot. Samo was in the dining hall, something happened, some incident happened. They get brought back to the hall, and as usual, prison officers kick fuck out of them. And Ernie and Cokie and that, they heard what had happened. But they get brought back just after 4 o'clock, and they immediately rounded up everybody that was coming back for the dining hall and just told them, right, get ready, as soon as we get opened up at 6 o'clock, we're going to run amok. So everybody was all making masks and fucking weapons and fuck knows what. I think everybody just had enough, and there was going to be an explosion of violence and everything else. And so when it opened up at 6 o'clock, I think it was B Hall, everybody just came rushing it, ran up the stairs. There was prison officers getting assaulted and told to get to fuck out the wing. So everybody got up the top landing. They took control of the hall, and before much longer, the boys had got through the roof as well. There was 2 or 3 hostages took as well, and there was bargains for the prison service in Edinburgh for the release of the hostages. Released 1 hostage, then another one. Eventually 3 of them get released. And after a couple of days, I ended up going down there. I was in Shields' bar, I says, fuck it, I'm getting done. And I went round to my man's house, and I got a big white sheet, and I wrote on it with black boot polish. I says, Slasher Gallagher is an animal, and this is all caused by the brutality that's going on in there. So I went down and I pulled this sheet up, and everybody came on there, all the reporters and all that. So anyway, Ernie and that were up on the roof. A good pal of mine's, Davey Fitzsimmons, he was up on the roof as well. Albert Moffat was up there. Wee Dixie for Castlemount, another good wee pal, he's no longer with us. And I say the two Cokie boys, and there was a boys' feaster house, Bongo, Shoey Twig, and Moose. There was loads of people up, but coming into the 5 days, most people went down, and it was just this wee hardcore up, or 9 or 10 people, and I was down there every day, and the boys had all the uniforms on, which they took off the prison officers, and they were balaclavaed up, and they had shields and buttons, and prison officers' coats and hats on, and they were singing scheme songs. A good band from Glasgow, they should have made it by then, and they were singing songs like Innocent as Hell, Going Stronger. After 5 days, the prisoners gave up, and they were told there wouldn't be any brutality. So they were all kept in the Windy House was built at this time. So we were on the Windy House, and later on that year I ended up getting to jail myself, and I ended up in there. I wanted to be in there with the riot was going on, but unfortunately I wasn't, for all the years I'd had brutality forced on me in Berlin. But what happened is I was done with a shooting in Glasgow at a garage, and I was on the run. I was on the run for about 5 weeks, and I was in Edinburgh, Liverpool. I decided to come back to Glasgow, and I was going up to a pub called the Highland Fling in Springburn, and just before I went into the pub, CID noticed me, so I ran into the pub. A pal of mine's, George Madden, Gio, and his brother Joe, and I says, I think the coppers are fucking saw me coming in here, and Gio says, right, get down the cellar, and before you know it, I'm down the cellar hiding, and a few minutes later, the coppers like that, right, we want to get down the cellar, they've come down, they've searched the pub, come down the cellar, and they're at, right, McDonald came out, and I was hiding behind his beer keg, and the game was up. So I get remanded to Berlin, and I was only in there a few weeks, and I ended up getting done for assaulting 3 prison officers. So I get put to the Windy House, and Ernie and that was there, and all the boys that was all charged. And it was the end of 87, and the trial was going on. But this time, Ernie had a group called Rough Justice for England. They were doing a lot of programmes at the time with people that was innocent, and they were fighting their corner. So Rough Justice came on board, and Ernie it gave him a bit of hope. And he says to us, he says, I was talking about him, and he's saying to us, if I get done with this riot, I'll get 10 years, and that's me fucked for my, sorry about swearing, I says, but that's me skedaddled for my Rough Justice, my 18 years. But the way things worked out, Ernie got not guilty for the riot, and 3 of the boys' feaster house get done. Shoey Twig, Bongo McLeish, and the boy Moose. They get Bongo was only doing 6 months. He ended up getting 10 years, and the boy Moose get 8 years. Shoey Twig get 6 years, and No, he never get 6 years straight, or get 4 years, sorry. And while we were in Berlin, in the Wendy House, I'm trying to think, I think it was just when the trial was going on, it was mental. The prison officers were all demoralised, and then they took control of the jail again. So we were in the Wendy House, and we used to get dubbed up. During the day you could get dubbed up with somebody. So Ernie used to come into my cell, or I'd get into his cell. So this day he's come into my cell, and this prison officer, his name was, he was a PTI, McGurk. He was an SO, and he was on that day, and he was kind of giving the boys a rough time. So two of the boys, Fulty and Ramdin for Drumchapel, they decided that they'd had enough. So while I was dubbed up with Ernie, we heard the doors open, we heard the screws coming in, they're saying, right, everybody's going back to their cell. So they opened just a couple of cells up, then they opened this other cell up where Ramdin and Fulty for Drumchapel was. And they've just come out, and they're whacked fucking this McGurk and other prison officers and chased them at the Wendy House. And they were screaming and shouting, and the prison officers all went out, locked the gate, and they're running about wild, and they came up to my cell, up to the hatch, and they were saying to Ernie, what should we do, you know, that, and Ernie's like, well, just do what you want. So this went on for hours and hours, and the prison officers, when they came in, and they were shouting, if he's come in, we're just going to fucking give you that. I think they had their bed legs as weapons, and a couple of homemade shanks, knives, and me and Ernie were just talking away, and Rab and Fulty were running about mental. So they decided that they'd had enough. I just forgot to say, just before Fulty and Rab came to an end with the riot, the prison officers, it went on for hours and hours, and the prison officers had came to my window, and they were passing blankets into me and Ernie. But what I do remember, this was a way back in 87, so it's a long time ago, it's 35 years ago, but I can't forget this. Ernie, I get my canteen that day, because I was still remand. Ernie was convicted, so I was allowed to spend more money in Mars bars, etc. But what I do remember is when the riot siege came to an end with the boys, they came and opened Ernie up, and he went back into his cell, and I noticed he'd ate all my canteen, but I didn't mind sharing my canteen with him, you know what I mean? Because he was my pal, and it's a couple of Mars bars and things. But so that was that. It came to an end, but I never came to an end. I ended up going to Glasgow High Court in January 1988, and I was found not guilty, and I tried to walk out the dock. Screw says, where are you going? I went, oh, just chance my luck. And because I was still to go up for assault to three prison officers, and I ended up getting up, that gets sorted and dealt with. So I was a free man, I was out. But Ernie's turn was to come, and we'll shoot right up, pardon the pun, that was my charge, the shooting. But we'll go right up to August 1988, and Freedom Day was calling for Ernie Barrie. Yes, it was. And he done it in spectacular style. Ernie was getting released for Peterhead, and I was talking to his wife Mary, well, his missus, still his wife at the time, and she stuck by him in Alcatraz at Peterhead with Ernie, and to be honest, the Daily Record campaigned for Ernie, and Mary had phoned me up a couple of days before he was getting out, and she says to me, listen, other newspapers have been in touch, they want to give us more money than the Record and that, and I says to her, I says, listen, I says, they've campaigned, they've done a campaign to get Ernie out, they believe in his innocence. I says, so you can't do that. She's like, oh, right, okay then. So Ernie get released, and that night he phoned me. He told me, oh, listen to what happened. He says that the reporters and that, they came into the prison and he was in the back seat and they put a jacket over him. He says there was a press pack waiting outside. So they get chased. Ernest says they get chased, they get left Peter in prison, and it was giving an exclusive story to Daily Record, and they get chased about these country roads, and Ernest says a couple of the cars crashed, and by this time he's got the jacket off and he's looking. He says, before you know it, we just drove into this field. It was something out of a James Bond movie. He says, there was a helicopter sitting. He says, they whisked me onto this helicopter. He says, we went down to the landing pad down in Glasgow at the Scottish Exhibition Centre. He says it was there for refuelling. Then they took him to this 5-star hotel in the Lake District. Mary and the kids and that, they'd all been there the night before. And he says it was just order what they want. He says all the kids were out steaks and in champagne. So the next day it was all in the paper for a couple of days there, and they'd been released. Thanks to Enough Justice, which she was really grateful for getting them out. And so I had a caravan at the time up Manchester, and I remember I took him up there. He was out a few months, took him up with Anstruther. It's not there any longer, this site. Get a great wee site up there. And I had a caravan there for a couple of years, and Ernie came up. And everybody in the club was like, oh, was that the guy for Enough Justice? Oh, and I was like, aye, that is. And Ernie being Ernie, he just took things in his stride. And everybody was there talking about him and all that, saying, oh, it's good you get out, mate, and all that. I was saying, it's no good to see an innocent man in prison. So, Ernie, the next couple of years, he was up in Glenrothes with Mary. And I think he was only out about a year and a half. And he was in the Gorbals, and he was stabbed. It was on the front of the papers and all of that. The Rough Justice guy had been stabbed. He ended up in the Victoria Infirmary. And who stabbed him? Hammy the Poof, Martin Hamilton. They call him the Black Kill Butcher, but I never heard him getting called that. Everybody just called him Hammy the Poof and that. And it's funny because Ernie knew him. But what happened is Ernie's two sisters, and one of them was having an argument with Hammy, and Ernie's ran over, and before you know it, he's lying in a pool of blood, and he's been rushed to the hospital. But he's recovered for that as well. Then get up to 1990, Ernie came up to the pub. I had the pub in Swingburn at the time, and he came in and he says to me, he says, I'm going to leave Mary. And I says, what do you mean you're going to leave Mary? I says, you can't leave Mary. I says, she can't pay to get you. He went, oh, just things only working out and etc. And I was like, I'm saying, no, you can't do that, Ernie. But his mind was made up, and he turned around and says to me, I'm going to go with the love of my life. And I went, who's the love of your life? And he says, this lassie Marie Fulton. And Marie came from a big family in the Gorbals. So that's what happened. I didn't, I never poked my nose into too much his business. But I kind of says to him, look, you can't do it, but it's up to every individual what they want to do. So Ernie set up with Marie in the Gorbals. And in 91, I was to get the jail. And Ernie came up to see me, and we kept in touch by the phone. And Ernie, by this time, his two sisters had died tragically as well with drugs and the Gorbals, and that was just tragic. You know what I mean? But Ernie was to security drugs himself, having Marie, but then Joy in the 19, I think that was in a couple of years, I think it was 1993, Ernie had a son, young Ernest. The boy he'd always wanted, you know what I mean? He was delighted, he was still kept in touch with me, and he used to give my missus at the time training shoes and money. He looked right after me. He was a good pal, and I was just glad to hear this wee boy in it. But tragedy even was to strike again in 1998. Young Ernie went missing, and I'd put in all the papers, and I think his boy was missing. I was in HMP Long Lartin at the time in Worcester. I'd been in 7 years, and Ernie's, he was in bits, as you would be with your son missing, and he was thinking the worst. And the police, he did say that the police pulled all the stops out, looking for his son. And tragically, young Ernie was found in the River Clyde. And I spoke to Ernie on the phone, and he says that it was like a knife going through his heart. And he just says, if I could get behind the bars again for young Ernest to come back, he says, I would. He says, but I'm only glad that some pervert never took him. That's what he actually says to me. And but it was tragic. All my family went to the funeral and the Gorbos, and the police again got to give him a due. They bring me escorted on the funeral. I was just lost for words, and my mother went, sister and brother Gary, Tracy, and they just said it was one of the saddest funerals out. Ernie just wasn't the same. He wasn't the same guy after that, and how could you blame him? And he just sunk deeper into drugs, and I get released in 2001, and Ernie, I'd saw him a few times, and but after that, he was just a lost soul after that happened to his son. Through all the carry on he had in Berlin with the riot and the rough justice, getting fitted up for a bank robbery, never done it. It was tragic. And we ended up drifting away apart. And Ernie, Marie died as well. Mary, his first missus, she died. It was just Ernie's story is a tragic story. And sad to say, I was at Ernie's funeral 3 years ago. Me and my sister went, and we went back to the Glen Cairn, and it was his young nephew James. You're watching, James. You done well for Ernie, mate. He covered the funeral and all that, and no, it was just a waste of a good guy, and all the things that had happened to him. But Ernie will live on in spirit, and that was 40 years, I know, and it's just so sad. But that's the story of Ernie Barrie, a living legend for the Gorbals, and what happened. But I think at this moment I'll just do some shout outs. A few people's been asking me, and I'm on the tea. Seeing if I drink the jug. So I'll do some shout outs. Some people want some. So there's John Taylor for Jersey. He wanted a shout out. I think he works in the rigs. And wee Joe for Paisley. How you doing, Joe? He's on the TikTok, same as myself. Also, Boy Horse. He's doing brilliant. Keep going, mate. They're doing fantastic. And young Phil. Wee Phil. He won the book competition about 6 months ago. That wee boy's been going through a lot. he's been through a lot of operations and all that, and he's due another operation next Wednesday, so I hope everything goes alright. He's a wee fighter, and I'll be thinking of you, wee man. And also a big shout out for the Corby team, Charlene and Alistair. Well, Alistair's name is really Alexandra, and Charlene, she runs a boxing club in Corby. It's called the Olympic Amateur Boxing Club, and there's a big night on in November. We've got 18 boxers fighting, there's a title fight as well. And another boy, talked to him TikTok, Christopher Hassan, if he's listening, congratulations, you had a wee baby girl. Well done, Christopher. And boy Sean Walker wants a shout out for his pal, Tony Anderson. So there you go. Some there here. Another boy, I met Terry Terry, I can't remember. I met him anyway in Tesco, and that was a while ago. Just got that there. And Danny Kelly, the rapper, forgiven. How you doing, Danny boy? Also Barrie for Cumbernauld, and it's not the Chewing Gum Gang for Barrie oh hell. So there you go, Barrie. Told you I'd give you a shout out, mate. I'd also like to mention a boy, good pal of mine for years, he died tragically as well in 1990. I've not mentioned him a lot, Colin Friel. Colin was a great guy. He was brought up with me and Gary, and all his family, all the Friels, Pat, and all the sisters and all that. So if you're listening, big shout out for Colin, he's never forgotten. And a pal has to give a shout out to DJ Joe, as he likes the podcasts. So there you go, Joe, the DJ. Hope everything's gone good for you, mate. Also boy Brian for Bulgari Hill, next to Talisman Pub. He's wanting a shout out. Another boy watches the podcast, Ross Yule, and Lerdy Boy, and boy Cumbo. God. And don't forget you, Gavin McLean for Brigton. That's a good shout out. I know your wee dad George, he's a wee legend. Also Kevin O'Rourke and his pal Cameron, we want a shout out for Mary Hill, and the wee pal Scotty boy, so there he's got. And Chris Duffy for TikTok, he was the one that asked me, I done a wee TikTok a few months ago, and he was the one that says, we did the day the first day he's released from prison, and that's why I'm doing Chris, I mentioned. Also I was coming out the Tesco and Sauchiehall Street, and I met this couple, Davey and Mary, and he says he watched all the episodes, and it was great to meet them. So if you're listening, Davey and Mary, it was good to meet you. Great couple, and I'm sure they're up in Springburn as well. Another couple here. Gary Kelly, who watches all the podcasts all the time, Gary. And how can I forget you? Paul for the RAF, he's away now. He was in the Falklands, then he was in Canada. And there's another shout out for a boy, Tam O'Donnell. His pal Ross Simpson has got a ice cream van up at the Huggingfield Lock. In the summer he was asking for a shout out. So I think that's them all. And I also another shout out from big pal Arthur Robertson, who used to come from Howard Street in Govan, and way back years ago. Don't remember the concerts. I remember the concerts we went to Arthur, George Benson, and Joan Armatrading a way back 30 odd years ago. Great, mate. And I was sitting with young Carrie Jr., who was old man, of course, and I was trying to remember this song in the house, and the dad's Carrie, wasn't it? Stevie Ford, but who remembers a guy called Stevie Ford? But I did, guy for Canada, and think that's them all. Aye, that's them all, so it is. So, it's been good doing this wee podcast, bringing back memories. And I'm going to try and do a podcast every week now. Get back into it. I get the brain working and get thinking. Trying to have a few good stories. But as I say, I don't make any money a lot out of this, so I'm not in any rush to do any podcasts like that. But I think I've got 11,000 subscribers just now, which is really good for, well, for me. I've not really been doing any. But the fight goes on, battle goes on, and I'm going to try and win this addiction. I'm getting my best go anyway. I'm feeling stronger every day. And also, shout out for Livy, who does all the editing and etc. So that's all for this week. So I'll say goodbye for Glasgow, and I hope everybody all over Britain, or including the Cunningham family down in South London, hope you're all good, and keep fighting about Desi quite a lot as well. So it's goodbye for me, goodbye for Glasgow. Bye.